What's up, everyone? Good morning. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is Friday, April the 17th. As you can see here, overall markets, another rally towards the upside. Coming, it is green here in the pre-market on both the SPY and the Qs. So we end up closing green. Markets are now rallying here in the pre-market, well above all-time highs on both the major indices. Which we'll talk about here. AMD had a pretty solid move towards the upside, all-time highs play yesterday. So a bunch of these names, especially if we haven't hit all-time highs, a lot of these ones are moving towards the upside here. So there's a lot of higher time frame names to talk about. Before we head on to the charts, what's up, everyone? Good morning. What's up, Marcus? Good morning. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Victor B. Roots TW. Good morning, Maria, Cody, Deuce. What's up, Chris, Knight? Good morning. Quick question: does AMD have to fill the gap, or at some point? So whenever you have a gap fill, look how big AMD had a move towards the upside. Plus, it had news yesterday as well. So AMD, right, it can fill the gap, but it's very unrealistic that it's gonna gravitate lower today or anytime fairly soon, just because of how big of a move we had. But the gap can fill just because, right, very close to all-time highs compared to something like this gap over here. It might take a little bit longer to fill than something like this, which could easily fill, right? Maybe within the next week or so, back down in towards that 260. What's up, Lamit, Viet, Maria, Robert, 50, Chris? What's up, everyone? Gerald, Will. What's up? What's up? Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, of course, Netflix did have earnings as well, which we'll talk about. This one's actually dropping here, down about, I think it was down about 10% the last time I saw it. But let's go on to the economic calendar and talk about some of the things that we have coming into today. At least for some news events, as we kind of talked about here now. We had the war news events that we had a couple weeks ago with the peace deal. Now the market's essentially rallying towards all-time highs. We should get some more information here soon, but Trump basically mentioning Iran is going swimmingly and should be ending pretty soon. So we'll kind of talk about this a little bit more next week. We should have some more information, but overall markets are at all-time highs. Now we're basing above key levels here as well. As for the red folder news events, we have a Fed speaker later today. We'll see how this impacts the market, but we do, as I mentioned, have a Fed speaker that's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As for next week, not really too much. Right now, we do have earnings season. We're going to have core retail sales, and we do have a red folder news event, which is going to be fairly big. That is going to be at 10 a.m. next Tuesday with the new Fed chair. So that's going to be fairly interesting. We'll see how that affects the market here. And then, of course, we do have a bunch of earnings that is going on currently. We do have a bunch of earnings next week and then the week after. And then we'll go on to the higher time frame. Sorry. We'll head on to the earnings here. As I mentioned, we had a bunch of earnings this week with the big banks. And then, of course, we had Netflix yesterday, which was fairly important. Just at least for this individual name, just to kind of kick off earnings season. But Netflix is down about 10 to 15% in the pre-market, which we'll talk about here. And then we'll talk about a couple other names in a second. But let's now go on to the higher time frames. OPEC, yeah, it's always the third week of Friday. It does affect it. That is something to keep in mind. But normally, what we're going to keep an eye out for now is going to be the key levels that we have marked out. So let's go on to the higher time frames. Number one, let's go into the weekly chart. So we talked about this. We'll have a bigger weekly outlook here on the weekend. But as you can see for the overall markets, look at this weekly candle close. So we kind of talked about this candle close last week, which was that weekly candle close inside of the range. If the markets can maintain above that 670, we potentially can see that move back up and towards our all-time highs. And you can see, look how strong of a move we had on the SPY. We are going to close fairly close to that all-time highs, or sorry, we're going to close above it on the higher time frames. And now you can see, look how big of a move this was in the past couple of weeks, right off the lows. So now we're above our previous consolidation, above our previous all-time highs here as well. A lot of people, especially with the SPY and Qs, right, pretty solid rally towards the upside. Right here, of course, once we close back above, you definitely should not be short. That's for sure. And trying to find a top here, fairly difficult. Is SPY eventually going to pull back down and towards its previous all-time highs? Yes, but trying to time this short back down, very difficult. Right now, we're currently up, if I'm not mistaken, 12 days in a row. I think it's on the NASDAQ or the SPY. I forget exactly what it is, but we're up about 12 days in a row. First time, or I think it's tied for the amount of green days up in a row. We'll see if it closes another green day as well today. But overall, the market's above our previous all-time highs key level, which is our 695. Eventually, that is going to be the retest that we're going to be looking for. Currently, we're just maintaining above our previous day highs, but the next best buying opportunity on the SPY and Qs is going to be that previous all-time highs retest. So if, let's say, for example, you're in longs either once this gap up happened, or your longs all the way before that 2-week peace deal, or you're going to be selling some up into this 705, or you're going to be selling some up in towards this all-time highs key level. Now, if you're going to be looking for a pullback long, the next pullback long, of course, is going to be down in towards that 675 previous level of resistance. Now you like to see turn into support for continuation higher. For the Qs, fairly similar thing. We recently just hit our all-time highs as well. Key levels that we do have marked out was the 630, right? 630, multiple touches here. Now we like to see this level be used as support for continuation towards the upside here as well. So this is going to be the key level moving forward, right? It doesn't make too much sense to go look long above your 640, at least on the higher time frames, right? Above our previous day highs, we can be going we can look long, but that's just going to be for like an intraday move. But let's go into the SPY. Let's go into lower time frames here. Every single dip so far is being bought up. We talked about this. Every single previous high, now we like to see turn into support. Right on Monday, broke above, continuation, another break and retest, and now even yesterday as well, kind of broke underneath it. A little bit more choppy yesterday, but maintained above key levels. And now you can see so far kind of gravitating towards the upside here in the pre-market. So key levels that we have marked out today, previous day highs once again. If we do want to see some upside, so far we are having a nice push here in the pre-market. Key levels is going to be that 703 previous day highs, which is 703, 702 for that continuation towards the upside. Another possible scenario, it's going to be a little bit more difficult now, above our pre-market highs for continuation. So the best case scenario is going to be that pullback down in towards that 702 here on the higher time frames. As for the ES, the key levels that we have marked out is going to be this all-time highs here as well. Currently, we do have our all-time highs on the futures as well. As you can see here for the ES, the next levels that we have marked out on the SPY, we don't really have too many levels since we are at our all-time high. So we're going to have to base it off of the futures chart even. And now you can see this one is hitting our all-time highs here as well. So for the ES, we are hitting our all-time highs in the pre-market. That was the key level that we have marked out. Let me actually just get the exact level, which is in this case, drag it up into this high. So for the ES coming to market open, the key levels that we have marked out, very similar to the SPY. We have our previous day highs marked out coming to market open plus our all-time highs. So what we like to see is the hold above our previous day highs, 70.92. For continuation towards upside. So that's what we have on the SPY coming into market open here. Maintain above that, we can see continuation towards the upside. So this is really the only game plan that we have for the SPY coming to market open. Right now we are having a push in that pre-market, so we're gonna have to wait for some sort of pullback, dip and rip for continuation towards the upside. So this is what we have for SPY. You can also mark out that opening range candle here as well, along with the ES. Now let's go on to the QQQ, which is very similar here, making a brand new high in the QQQ. Coming to market open. What's happening in the Discord? Don't have access. If you don't have access, make sure to go back onto WAP and reclaim permissions. Everything should be good. If you need help, open up a help ticket. You can also message on message WAP support here as well. But let's go into the QQQ. Key levels that we have coming to market open. As I mentioned, similar thing, well above our all-time highs here now. Look how strong this weekly candle close, or it hasn't closed as of yet, but very strong weekly candle. Now we're about to close above our all-time highs. What you like to see here now is maintain above, as I mentioned, that previous all-time highs. Let's go back onto the QQQ. Key levels that we have is going to be that 642, hold above that 642 for that continued push towards the highs. Another level is going to be that kind of pre-market highs. We can also mark out that previous day highs here as well. But basically for the Qs, key level is going to be that 642 coming into market open. So really, this is the only scenario. We do have a pretty big, not a fairly big gap, but up about 0.42%. So if you do want to go look longs above our previous day highs, if it had a pullback all the way back down in towards that previous day close, you could still be looking for some upside here as well. Another possible scenario, let's say, for example, it just pushes higher right off the bat. Then we're going to have to use our opening range, and that would be more discretionary since we're at all-time highs. We're a little bit farther away from our key levels here, but it's going to be that 642. All right, that's what we have for the Qs. As for the NQ coming into market open, what we're going to mark out here, similar thing, previous day highs. That's going to be key 26,560. We are above it here in the pre-market. What we like to see is the dip down in towards the key levels for that continuation back towards the upside. Another possible scenario is above our pre-market highs for a push towards the upside here as well. Or we could get some sort of previous day close retest, and then we could be looking for the reclaim back above for continuation higher. So we have a couple key scenarios regardless, right? As I mentioned, we're just going to be looking for major dips to go look long. Ever since we had, look at this week's price action so far. Basically started off on Monday, and now you can see we're just rallying towards the upside. Every single dip that we've had, we haven't had any major dips, but every dip that we've had so far, markets have been continuing higher. So until, right, we either break structure, pull back, right, we're just going to be doing the same thing, right? Looking for major longs to go, looking for any sort of major pullbacks to go long in the markets. In this case today, previous day highs hold, continuation towards the upside here on the NQ. It could even come all the way back down in towards our previous day lows, still be bullish, and continuation higher here as well. All right, that's what we have for the NQ coming into market open. Let's go on to the SMH, and then we'll go on to a few tech names here. Stumped how to trade all-time highs, like you said, dips and continuation. Exactly. So there's one or two things, right? If you're trading the SPY and Qs, right, you can look for a continuation setup. Obviously, now the SPY and Qs is quite overextended. We're up about 12 days in a row. So you're going to be looking for other tech names for a potential opportunity here. So you can see names like Tesla 2 days ago, right? AMD, another push towards the upside. So now there's going to be a lot of names on the tech side that either have been lagging behind that are going to have fantastic setups, right? And we have room, of course, up and towards our all-time highs. Even Microsoft, right? Hopefully you guys were able to capture this one. This one actually moved a lot quicker than I expected to, but right off our key level, I was hammering Microsoft for a long time, right down into this the 380, 360, right? Even if you're dollar cost averaging right at that 380, now you're right back up and towards your 420. If you got an entry closer to 360, fantastic. This one already back up and towards 420, you're up about like 10 to 20% on the actual underlying itself. For trading options, that's completely different. So let's go on to the SMH. As you can see here for the SMH, another one right off our key levels above our all-time highs. Strong weekly candle close is coming in here as well. So for the SMH, key levels that we have marked out today is going to be our previous day highs. Right, previous day highs that we can have marked out, we can drag this over and go on to the lower time frames. Other key levels that we have marked out is going to be that 453. So of course, if you want to look for longs above our previous day highs, hold, continuation towards the upside here on the SMH. If we break underneath, then we can be seeing, if we break underneath, then we could be looking for the hold above our 453 for this continued pushback towards the upside here as well. Regardless, as you can see, some of the semis fairly bullish above our all-time highs. Most of these are continuing towards the upside here as well. All right, now let's go into the IWM. This one has recently hit our all-time highs here now as well. So as you can see right here for the IWM, pushing up and towards our all-time highs, that is key 272. Now we can expect a little bit of sellers, right? If you are interested, if you are buyers all the way down from our 240, or once this gap up occurred, people are going to look to take profits up into this 272. So that's your key area here on IWM. Be a little bit more cautious. If we're looking at this on a daily time frame perspective, right, it doesn't make sense if we're looking too long, really any indice up and towards our all-time highs or above our all-time highs. Now the best, as I mentioned, would be that retest, of course, right? If you're looking at if you're looking at IWM on a daily chart, if you're buying here at our all-time highs, there's a very good chance we could kind of reject and have kind of a small pullback. Similar thing here with SPY now as well. It doesn't make too much sense that we're going to look to buy above our 705 or buying up in towards our previous all-time highs. Now we're going to be waiting for, of course, the pullback on the daily time frame for that continuation higher, which most likely won't occur today, right? It'll probably be some sort of pullback next week. But at least for the SPY currently, at least if we're looking at intraday price action, right, we can just be using those previous day highs and previous day lows as a reference, right, for day trading. If we want to look for that next like swing opportunity, or if we want to be looking for a major pullback on the SPY and Qs, then of course that previous all-time highs is going to be key. But if we're just trading intraday, right, just use that previous day highs as a reference and be looking for, right, maintaining a bullish bias as long as we're above that 703. Okay, let's go on to the higher time frames here. Now let's first talk about Tesla. Tesla does have earnings. This is on Wednesday of next week. So happening next week, as you can see here, previous consolidation, some nice buyers stepping in. Tesla holding up fairly nicely. So Tesla, as you can see here, had a little bit of reaction yesterday right off a key level, just basically right back in towards this previous level of support. Now you can see a little bit of seller stepping in. If we can close above, potentially we can see a nice reversal here on Tesla, back up in towards our previous day highs and potentially 400 here. So Tesla does look good in my opinion. Yesterday, as I mentioned, a little bit of reaction. But overall, right, look at how bullish Tesla is on the week. So as you can see, Tesla, if you're looking at this week's price action, a little bit of a pullback. Higher lows are still very much well being built. Coming into today, Tesla, right, above our previous day highs. We can see a push up in towards 397.50 and 400 here. So we'll keep an eye on Tesla coming to market open. Key level, as I mentioned, is going to be that 395. Break, retest, continuation higher. So we'll keep an eye on Tesla above our previous day highs, along with our Wednesday's high here as well. This one does have room 398, potentially 400s today here on Tesla. So we'll keep that in mind on this name. Another possible scenario is if it kind of rejects. So we have two scenarios: above our previous day highs, hold for continuation higher. Another possible scenario, if it kind of rejects off our previous day highs, comes all the way back down in towards our previous day close and reclaims, so we can still be looking for a continued push higher here as well. So really two scenarios: above our previous day highs or that previous day close gap fill, and then look for continuation higher. Either way, right, Tesla, higher lows are being built, right? Either scenario works. So there's not one scenario where either like the pullback, where I'd still be holding structure. If we break above our previous day highs, hold above that one, we can see a quick move towards the upside here as well. So Tesla is going to be one of my main watches coming into market open. Nvidia inside bar day yesterday, or sorry, not quite an inside bar day, but for Nvidia, this one consolidated a little bit yesterday. Let's look for continuation today. Key levels that we have is our 196.50. Other levels that we have marked out previous day highs. Now what we like to see is really this kind of wedge pattern form and break back towards the upside. So break above our previous day highs, continuation towards the upside here on Nvidia. Above our previous day highs, similar thing, continuation towards the upside. If we're looking at this on the daily time frame, we're kind of right at a key level, basing so far above our 195. If we can kind of form a flag pattern above this 195, next level, of course, is going to be that full gap. And then, of course, our all-time highs here, 212. So Nvidia looks good for continuation towards upside. All right, that's what we have for Nvidia. AMD, this one seems like we just had some news here in the pre-market, but nice rally towards the upside yesterday. Now the key levels that we are going to have marked out is going to be that previous day highs, 278. Other levels that we can have marked out here now is just going to be that low, right? Kind of your higher low here on the 15-minute time frame. Another touch here in the pre-market as well. So for AMD coming to market open, what we like to see is one of two things. Bounce play here off that 272, continuation towards upside. Another possible scenario above our previous day highs hold, continuation towards upside here on AMD. So that's what we have coming to market open. This is something that not really interested in shorting, right? I kind of talked about this for a while, or at least this week. Hopefully some of you guys are definitely not short, right? Even though the market is overextended, don't try and find a top. I think that's a thing that, especially if you try and do at the very start, right? The market's overextended, right? Can't go higher. Right, I don't like to try and time a top, especially if it's at all-time highs. It's very difficult. Maybe if we're in a downtrend, we can have key levels to look off of, right? But in this case, we're at all-time highs. The markets are overextended, but they're holding above key levels, right? The only time we're going to be looking to short is maybe we can show weakness underneath our previous day highs, but even then it's going to be fairly difficult. So you just want to be a little bit more cautious. If you're not interested in longs, definitely don't try and short the market. If you want to wait for some sort of pullback longs, then you can be interested in that. But shorting the market is very difficult, especially since the broader indices are bullish. So your individual name, even if it does have relative weakness, that is the only viable way you can be looking for shorts if it does have relative weakness. But almost every single name here on the tech side is bouncing here with the overall indices. So be a lot more cautious on the short side until we break market structure at a minimum on the hourly time frame. Do not be looking for shorts, and you much rather look for pullbacks to go look long in the markets. As for Apple, this one, a little bit of rejections yesterday, but it just came back down in towards our previous retest level. So Apple looks fairly solid here. Previous level of resistance now turning into support. Nice buyer stepping in here off that 262. And now we are reclaiming back above this 266. So for Apple, maintain above our 266 hold. Continuation back up and towards that 269 here is in play. So that's what we have for Apple coming into market open. Google, a little bit of a pullback yesterday. This one is closer towards our all-time high. So for Google, now what we like to see is right that eventual push up and towards our all-time highs 350. Right, for the key levels it can pull back into, we're just going to mark out those like previous day highs. Preferably hold at 330. It could come all the way back down and towards even 320 and still be fairly bullish. But at least for today, key levels that we are going to have marked out is going to be that 330. Let me kind of just readjust my levels here. 330 is going to be key. And then, yeah, 330 and this 335. So for Google coming to market open, let's just mark out this previous day lows here too. So levels for Google, 332 bounce hold for continuation higher. Another possible scenario above our 335 for continuation towards the upside here as well. And then another possible scenario is that retest all the way back down in towards that 330 here on the higher time frames. As for Microsoft, as I mentioned, this one, look at this solid reversal here, right off the lows, right off a key level here on the weekly time frame. So Microsoft looks super solid. Next levels that we do have is going to be that full gap fill. So really solid push. We have earnings in a couple of weeks, but I do expect now that push up in towards our 440 here, which is that full daily gap. We're also breaking above a key level, which is this 410 level. We have another level that we're breaking above here, 420. So really the next level here on Microsoft, back up and towards 440, that gap down that we had, which was earnings previously. So that's going to be our key level here on Microsoft. Now we can mark out other levels here, which is just going to be that previous day highs. So as you can see here for Microsoft, nice previous day high retest yesterday, above our previous day highs currently now, another previous day high retest for continuation towards the upside. So that's what we have on Microsoft. As for Meta, key levels that we have marked out is our 678, breaking retest above our 678, continuation towards the upside. Let's go on to the daily time frame. So as you can see here, but above our 678, we can see a continued push higher. This is a very key level here on the higher time frames. Multiple touches, just draw out this general area. Previous level of resistance broke above. Kind of use this as resistance back towards the downside. Now we're about to come back up once again. If we can break above it, hold, we're at continuation towards the highs. But I'd be cautious on Meta and a couple names coming into market open. If you already are looking at the spine cues today, right above our previous day highs, that is going to be key for continuation. So for something like Meta today, as long as you can maintain above that previous day highs, we can see continuation higher. If we break underneath, right, pop, kind of break underneath, be a little bit more cautious for a mini reversal back down in towards that 674. Amazon, this one, a little bit of a pullback yesterday, but you can see overall higher time frame still very much bullish. If you're looking at this one on a daily structure, kind of using this previous level of resistance turning into support for that push up and towards our all-time high. So for Amazon, this one, we just like to see hold and then push up and towards that 260 here on the higher time frames. So the key levels that we have marked out is going to be our high that we created here for this week. Other levels that we should have marked out here is going to be that previous day highs, and then it's also our Wednesday's high here. So for Amazon, hold above our previous day highs, continuation. Another possible scenario above our 252. And then Netflix is the one that did show a little bit more weakness. Of course, this one did have earnings gapping down here. So we're essentially back to a previous level of consolidation, which is the original area that we broke out from here on Netflix, 98. So we're gapping down here. Now what I like to see on Netflix, this is a name. Let's kind of go back onto the key levels that we have marked out. So as I mentioned, this is essentially the area that we broke out from. Now what we're going to have marked out is our 98, right? I'm not expecting a full-blown reversal, of course, right? This was down quite a bit here. Now we're just kind of consolidating right around the low. So the lows that we are going to have marked out is going to be this earnings low. So let me just readjust a couple levels here. Earnings low is always key, at least that first initial reaction, and we can drag it up in towards our candle body. So for Netflix, if we do want to see some upside today, it would have to be the reclaim back above our 98. We can see a mini mean reversion back up in towards our 100. If we reject off this level, we could see some more downside back down in towards our pre-market lows and below. I would be very cautious on downside here on Netflix just because the overall market's fairly bullish. So for Netflix, it's one of those where you probably just don't want to trade it today and just wait for it to kind of consolidate. Eventually, we are going to have some sort of earnings reversal set up in play. But at least for today, I'll probably be more hands-off. Plus, the IV is going to be a little bit elevated on this one. So whenever we do have earnings, right, earnings season is kicking off as well. What we have is elevated IV, especially if your name is running up into earnings or if we have earnings the day of. Right, you just want to be cautious because the IV is going to be elevated. So we're going to be waiting for something called the IV crush or an IV flush. So let's say, for example, something like Netflix dropping towards the downside. If you do want to go in short, if you short right off the bat, even if it heads lower, if it doesn't head lower in the time that you need it to, you might lose money, right? So the best case is if you have some sort of pop where you have that IV crush. Let's say you're trading the 95 puts, right? This is out of the money. So especially if it's expiring on a Friday, the IV is going to be fairly elevated. You're going to wait for that IV crush, and then you're going to look to short it. So you need some sort of dip and rip or a pop and drop if you are going to trade, right, any names with earnings. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit more. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of gap up and gap downs this earnings season. Okay, that was the main names that we had coming into market open. Let me kind of quickly go over my game plan. Does seem like the market is rallying nicely above our previous day highs. So game plan today, maintain a bullish bias above our previous day highs on the SPY and the Qs. It does seem like we're fairly farther away here on the SPY. So it's going to be a little bit much of a trickier session here on the SPY, at least. The Qs, we could see that retest, so we'll keep an eye out on that. As for my main names coming to market open, Tesla above our previous day highs, keep an eye out on this one. Nvidia above our previous day highs, keep an eye out on this one. AMD, potential bounce play here off that pre-market lows for a push back towards the upside. And then a few other tickers, Apple reclaim back above that 266. And then Meta even above our previous day highs, Amazon above our previous day highs for a push up and towards that 252. So there's a couple names to look out for. I'm going to keep an eye out on Tesla and Nvidia, and then you can also keep an eye out on AMD bounce along with Meta, Amazon. Microsoft looks really solid, but this one, it might be a little bit more difficult to get an entry on this one. If you got an entry either 380, 370s last week, you're in a really good spot here on Microsoft. But now let's go on to a couple other names. If you guys do have any charts or any tickers you guys would now like me to go over, you guys can now drop them in the chat. Probably go over some for the next kind of 5 to 10 minutes. then I am going to get ready for market open here. Let's first start off on Palantir. Palantir bouncing nicely off these lows. Now the key levels that we have on Palantir is going to be our previous day highs. So if you do want to see continuation on this one, above our previous day highs for a pushback towards the upside. Key levels above our previous day highs, 145 hold for continuation higher. AVGO looks solid, right? All-time highs move is in play for a push up and towards that 412. So this one has room back up and towards our all-time highs. Key level for AVGO basing above that 396, continuation higher. Oracle, another one bouncing nicely off these lows here. Key levels for Oracle is going to be that previous day highs as well. So what you can have marked out is going to be that 180. So 180 hold on Oracle, continuation towards the upside on this one. MU, this one, we can be looking for that all-time highs push coming to market open. We basically hit our all-time highs earlier in the week, and we're kind of consolidating here now. If we look at this on the daily chart, looks fairly solid, right? Kind of forming this flag pattern right above our previous all-time highs. MU can be a really solid watch today, above our previous day highs for continuation higher. If you're looking at this on the hourly time frame, kind of this cup and handle here as well. So for MU, this is going to be one of my main watches. Cup and handle, kind of forming this flag pattern. We can see a pretty big move on MU today. So let's keep an eye on MU above our previous day highs. Key level is going to be our 462 here. So 462, keep an eye on MU above 462. Hold for a continuation up in towards that 470 and above here. SNDK, similar thing. This one pulling back here, kind of forming this 1 hour flag. What you like to see now, break above our previous day highs for potential continuation here. So that's what we have on SNDK. Intel, another all-time highs move. We talked about Intel above our 6550 or above our 6650. This one, nice continued push towards the upside. Now we just like to see it maintain above our previous day highs. As for everything else, there's Hood, nice kind of bounce the day previous, SoFi, previous day high bounce. Other names, HIMS has been having a nice move towards the upside. So there's a lot of names that are kind of moving higher. This is just a very small basket of names. There's a bunch of other names running the markets as well. So plenty of opportunity, a lot of higher time frames setting up here as well. You're just going to be looking for, right, continuation on most names. So for something like MU right now, in this case, right, you're just going to be looking for continuation, base above our previous day highs for a push towards the upside. As I talked about earlier, my top watch is coming into market open, right? As long as you can maintain above our previous day highs here on the major indices, I'm going to be long buy. So Tesla, Nvidia, AMD looks good here as well for a bounce, right? Microsoft or any of these names that can offer a nice pullback down in towards our previous day highs. I'm going to keep an eye on MU today. This one above our previous day highs, kind of forming a cup and handle here on the hourly chart. So we'll keep an eye out on MU. Continuation on Intel is in play. And yeah, as for everything else, let's see. Let's look at the chat here. Monthly option. Yeah, so if you're day trading or if you're scalping, it's not going to matter as much. Obviously, if you're holding positions, that's something to keep an eye out for. But if you're just day trading, you're not holding positions until end of day, you're just looking for quick moves in the markets, it's not going to affect it as much. That's more if you're holding positions. Let's see what else there is. Oracle, already went over Oracle. As I mentioned, this one looks fairly good. W-shaped recovery here. Now we're breaking back above our key level of resistance, which is essentially the area that we broke down from 170. Now we're flipping back above this level. So now you can see Oracle is showing a little bit of buyers stepping in and showing some more strength above this 170. So for Oracle, next levels that we do have, this one's been beaten down quite a bit, is going to be really 190 and then all the way back up and towards that 210, right? We have this gap fill back here, but for Oracle above our 190, we can see a push up and towards that 200 and above. Okay, that is most likely going to be it for me today. I'm going to call it a session here. It is a Friday today, so that is something to keep in mind, right? Today is definitely not the day, especially if you've missed this rally towards the upside. There's plenty of opportunity, right? Don't try and make your money back on a Friday if you're down for the week or if you're looking to, right, we look for opportunity, right? There's if you're feeling a lot of FOMO here, right, the market has been rallying. We already hit our all-time highs, right? It's normal to feel FOMO, but definitely don't try and revenge trade or try and enter in a setup with a lot of size, especially on a Friday and zeros days, right? We're gapping up here in the markets. There is plenty of opportunity here, but just be patient, wait for the setups, right? There's a couple things we're looking for: Tesla, Nvidia. We're looking for other couple setups here as well. So, right, just make sure, right, as long as we maintain a bullish bias above our previous day highs, right, we're just going to keep doing that until it doesn't work. Right, SPY and Q, similar thing, right? Maintain a bullish bias in the market until we can show weakness or break back underneath key levels. So at least for everything else, right now we're just going to be looking for the reaction that we have off key levels. But yeah, that's going to be it for me today. Hope you guys did enjoy that. If you did, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch list, that of course is in the description below. I'll have a YouTube video coming out, this Sunday. Yeah, besides that, I'll see you guys all next week. All right, take care, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.